File designation SCP-015. Object class Euclid. Everyone has heard a strange noise from their plumbing. This is the story of what happens when the pipes start screaming back. This document details item SCP-015. Initial risk analysis determined the object to be a non-sentient, territorially aggressive anomaly. However, later evidence suggests a far more disturbing possibility. SCP-015 is a mass of pipes, vents, boilers, and other various plumbing apparatus completely filling a warehouse and data expunged. The anomaly is impossible to move, and as such, it is contained on-site within the warehouse where it was first discovered. The file on SCP-015 is not a record of containment. It is a chronicle of retreat. Exploration is permissible, but only in teams of 3-3 with full safety lines and GPS tracking. That precision treats the restriction as a response to measured risk, not a ceremonial warning. Personnel are expected to preserve the chain of custody before any further handling occurs. The primary containment protocol is simply to stay away from it. A gap of at least 2 meters must be maintained around the entire exterior of the containment structure. No other buildings, no temporary storage, no personnel quarters are to make any contact with the facility housing SCP-015. This is not to keep people out. It's to stop the object from getting out. A single exception is recorded as a procedural event with consequences, not as an informal choice. The file notes that any protrusions from the core mass must be capped and sealed immediately. Each new growth is to be logged, its position recorded. This is a constant, ongoing process. The containment teams are not technicians. They are gardeners, pruning a weed that cannot be killed. No aggressive action is to be made within SCP-015. The control exists to prevent a repeatable breach, not to signal caution in the abstract. Each log transfer leaves enough evidence for the next team to audit. Description entry. Exploration of the interior is permitted but strictly regulated. All survey missions must be conducted by teams of 3. Each member must be equipped with full safety lines and a GPS tracker. The file does not state what happens to teams of 2 or 4 or lone explorers. It simply implies that 3 is the only configuration with a chance of return. Pipes have been reported as being made of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. The most critical prohibitions are behavioral. No personnel may act aggressively within the structure. Furthermore, no hand tools or power tools of any kind are permitted inside. There can be no repairs, no maintenance. SCP-015 must not be provoked. The Foundation's approach is one of appeasement. They treat the structure not as an inert object, but as a sleeping animal, one they are desperate not to wake. No pipes composed of lead, PVC plastic, copper, or any other traditional material for the production of pipes have been found. The file describes SCP-015 as a mass of pipes, vents, and boilers. This mass completely fills a warehouse in a location. The structure is not static. When not under direct observation, the pipes grow. They extend, attempting to connect to nearby structures through sewer systems and underground plumbing. They are seeking a way out to integrate with the world's circulatory system. Any pipes near the subject will burst, spraying on the subject for several seconds before the flow suddenly stops. The scale of the object is difficult to comprehend. Current estimates, based on sonar and remote probe data, suggest the interior contains over 190 kilometers of pipes. They range in diameter from 2.5 centimeters to over 1 meter. Some sections appear new, polished, and functional. Others are ancient, rusted through and leaking unknown substances. Pipes have been reported containing oil, mercury, rats, a species of insect not yet identified, ground glass, seawater, entrails, and molten iron. The true anomaly, however, is the material composition. Researchers have cataloged pipes made of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. The file makes a specific, chilling note. No pipes composed of lead, copper, or PVC have ever been found. Not a single meter of conventional plumbing exists inside SCP-015. SCP-015 was cut back to its current structure after attaching to 11 other structures in the area. The anomaly is defined by what observers can verify, not by a dramatic interpretation of the event. This suggests the object is not a broken machine. It is a functioning system, operating on principles we do not understand. It mimics the function of plumbing, but it is something else entirely. Something biological or geological, or worse. Pipes will continue to burst around the subject until death or retreat. This distinction is why the record can revise its conclusions without erasing the earlier evidence. The wording records effects before causes, keeping uncertainty visible in the file. The file refers to this as its defensive reaction. Any personnel exhibiting aggression, carrying tools, or attempting to damage or repair the structure will trigger an immediate response. Pipes near the subject will burst, spraying them with their contents. The pressure is intense, the duration short, but the effect is devastating. The attached record remains relevant because the same trigger may produce a different result. It gives later personnel a traceable reason to preserve the revised control. The file lists the substances confirmed to have erupted from these breaches: oil, mercury, rats still living, an unidentifiable species of insect, ground glass, seawater, entrails, and on one occasion, molten iron. The reaction is not a single event. The pipes will continue to burst around the subject, targeting them relentlessly. The assault only ceases upon the subject's death or their successful retreat from the structure. SCP-015 contains, at current estimate, over 190 kilometers, 120 miles of pipes, ranging in diameter from 2.5 centimeters to over 1 millimeter. There is no reasoning with it, no way to signal surrender. Once you are marked as a threat, the structure's only goal is your elimination. The file implies this is not a random mechanical failure. It is a targeted, almost intelligent response. The structure can differentiate between a lost explorer and a technician with a wrench. It knows who is there to observe and who is there to interfere. It protects itself. The incident log fixes the event to a documented sequence of condition, response, and outcome. The initial containment effort was not passive. Before the current protocols were established, the Foundation attempted to sever the anomaly from the surrounding area. SCP-015 had already attached itself to 11 other buildings. The operation to cut it back to its current size is what led to the discovery of its aggressive nature. The number of casualties from that operation is not clearly specified, but it was high enough to permanently alter containment strategy. The current personnel record is a stark reminder of the cost of that lesson. To date, 11 Foundation personnel have been killed inside SCP-015, but the file contains another, more disturbing number. 20 more are listed as missing. They did not die from burst pipes. Their safety lines were not severed. Their GPS trackers simply went silent. They walked into the labyrinth and never walked out. Its value is procedural. It preserves what failed, what was observed, and what control followed. The file offers no official explanation for their disappearance. There are no recovery logs. No bodies were ever found. But there is one final, unofficial addendum, a collection of audio logs from monitoring stations placed near the structure's core. Reports have been made consistently of banging and screaming coming from deep within SCP-015. The sounds are not mechanical, they are human. Any personnel acting violently, carrying tools, or attempting to damage or repair SCP-015 in any way will trigger a reaction. The file doesn't connect the dots. It simply presents the data. 20 personnel missing, and unexplained screaming from inside a maze of pipes. A maze made in places of human flesh and bone. The implication is clear. The missing personnel are not dead. They have been assimilated. They are part of the structure now. The banging is them trying to get out. The screaming is their permanent state of existence, trapped within the nightmare they were sent to explore. The entity is not just growing, it is harvesting.